Iran says that Syria is the main axis of defending the resistance and the front line in confronting Zionism and imperialism. And al-Maliki affirms that the return of sectarianism to Iraq was not a coincidence, but more of a premeditated plan. And Russia says that the UN deals in a politicized matter with the question of the use of chemical weapons by terrorists in Aleppo countryside. In access to defending this and the front line in confronting Zionism and imperialism. In an interview with Russia Today channel, Projordi said that his country's support for Syria is a support for the resistance in face of the Zionist entity. Projordi pointed out that the Syrian people and leadership are facing an international terrorist campaign, but Syria is becoming more steadfast and successful. The Iranian official said that the armed terrorist groups failed in achieving their goals, despite that they used all financial and military assistance offered to them by regional and international supporters. Lebanese Foreign Minister Adnan Mansour said that Syria has a strategic weight in the region and the crisis in it should be settled because its repercussions will hit all of the region's countries. In an interview with the Lebanese Al-Manar television, Mansour said that the Syrian-Lebanese relations are historic, adding that the dialogue among all Syrian sides is the only way out of the crisis. Mansour stressed that everyone knows that in Syria there are extremist organizations that don't accept dialogue, calling upon Lebanon to use its army to stop interference in Syrian internal affairs. He added that Syria sent more than 20 memos to Lebanon on border violations into Syrian territories. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki affirmed that the return of sectarian sedition to Iraq was not a coincidence but a premeditated plan. Addressing the International Islamic Conference for Dialogue and Rapprochement, al-Maliki said that sectarian sedition can only be extinguished through the unity of all Muslims' efforts, referring to the crucial role to be played by Muslim intellectuals in this concern. He affirmed that the plight of sectarianism and terrorism are more dangerous than occupation. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Alexander Lukashevich said that the UN deals in a politicized manner with the question of the use of chemical weapons by terrorists in Aleppo. In a statement to journalists, Lukashevich said that Russia does not understand why the UN decided to follow those who do not care about making tangible efforts to prevent the use of toxic materials and who instead care only about changing the political system in a sovereign country like Syria. He added that much noise is being made and many statements are being issued by representatives of the US, Britain and others regarding the allegations of the use of chemical weapons in Syria, pointing out that these rumors rely mainly on CIA sources who claim that toxic materials have been used in small amounts, although this information is incomplete and difficult to verify. Jordanian demonstrators burned the US flag in the center of Amman, protesting the existence of US troops on Jordanian territories. The statement released at the end of the demonstration said that allowing the US soldiers to deploy on Jordanian territories would have adverse consequences on the region. Similar demonstrations were also staged in several other Jordanian cities. He in Jordan expressed complete rejection for the deployment of US forces in Jordan, calling on the Jordanian government not to involve in the US plan against Syria. The Syrian Arab Army units carried out a series of operations against the terrorist groups in Adra, Jobar, Zamalka, Harmali and Ashifoniye, eliminating a number of them, including terrorists who belong to Jabhat al-Nusra. The Syrian Arab Army unit with the terrorist group to the west of the Grand Mosque in Jobar, killing most of the group members. In Adra town, army units chased terrorist groups and destroy a den for their leaders in Rehan farms and destroy their hideouts with what they include of weapons and ammunition. Meanwhile, Syrian Arab Army units carried out an operation against a terrorist gathering which belongs to Jabhat al-Nusra in Barze neighborhood, which resulted in the destruction of the den. An official source said that the Syrian Arab Army units confronted today terrorist groups who tried to attack Minnik military air base in Aleppo's countryside, killing and injuring most of the attackers. The source added that the variety of weapons were found in possession of the terrorists and were destroyed consequently. In al-Assad countryside, units of the Syrian Arab Armed Forces destroyed hideouts used by terrorists in al-Mashatil and Tell al-Hanash, eliminating all the terrorists with all their arms and ammo. Among the terrorists killed were Abu Jafar Idris, commander of an armed group affiliated to the so-called Al-Bara Brigade. A military source said that another terrorist group tried to infiltrate into Homs citadel, but they were warded off by a unit of the armed forces that clashed with them and inflicted heavy losses among them. Another unit of the armed forces eliminated members of an armed group who were trying to infiltrate into Al-Wa'ar area via Al-Ghuta orchards, eliminating most of them. The Syrian Arab Army units, in cooperation with locals and citizens in Latakia countryside, managed to foil attempts by a big number of terrorists and suicidal attackers to infiltrate into the area from Idlib countryside. Military sources said that many of these terrorists were eliminated while the others fled, leaving behind quantities of arms like P-27 launchers, explosive devices, RPG launchers and stolen medical equipment. Syrian Arab news agency Sana called on all mass media outlets to neglect and ignore any news sent to them from the agency via their emails, because this news is misleading and fabricated. The agency reaffirmed that the only source for its news is its official website and the news bulletin it issues, stressing that it does not send any news via email. In Iraq, and following a series of terrorist attacks that targeted 4 mosques in Baghdad, 5 of the Iraqi security forces and the other 5 of the Sahwa forces were killed in sporadic terrorist attacks. Moreover, Iraqi armed forces have liberated Sulayman Beg city, that was under the control of al-Qaeda terrorists, killing the so-called Amir of the western region in Iraq's Islamic State and another 56 terrorists. Chaos and instability prevail in Libya as militias and armed groups gain more ground and grow even more powerful. A Libyan soldier was killed as a result of an attack carried out by armed men on a security post affiliated to the Ministry of Defense in Darna city. A Libyan security official said a booby-trapped vehicle with more than 50 kilograms of explosives was discovered and dismantled by one of the army's engineering units positioned in Al-Bayda area. That was it. More details on our website www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us. After the break, a look into the winter crops in Syria and the increase in global gold prices in our economic news.
Good afternoon. The Minister of Agriculture stressed that winter crops are well, as rainfalls have increased the wheat crop's efficiency by 90%. He added that most of the cultivated crops for winter were wheat, barley, lentils and chickpeas, as the precaution centers are doing periodic assessment visits in order to follow up the crop situation, in addition to checking pesticides to protect the crops. The Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi and the Kazakh Foreign Minister announced during their meeting on the sidelines of the third ministerial conference of the Heart of Asia countries that their countries would work to strengthen trade relations and economic cooperation. The two sides will also set up a railway line between Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan and Iran next month. He described the relations between his country and Iran as perfect, calling for enhancing cooperation in the field of transportation and communications between the two countries. Gold prices rose 75 Syrian pounds per gram in the local market. The 21-carat gold reached 5,175 Syrian pounds as the Jewelers Assembly set the price of the Rashadi golden coin at 37,700 Syrian pounds and the English coin at 42,200 Syrian pounds. The Central Bank of Syria set the purchasing price of the dollar at 96.31 Syrian pounds and the selling price at 96.89 Syrian pounds, while the purchasing price of the euro, according to the Central Bank, was set at 125.44 Syrian pounds as the selling price was set at 126.32 Syrian pounds. With this, we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.